Hello again, Sylvain.
Oh, hello, Claire. I mean, it's quite funny, isn't it? Because we before you started recording, we were actually talking how we looked on those pictures in the Zoom meeting, how we look like for other people, and is that
Mm.
interesting? Because I mean, here, oh, I've got a visitor here. Hello, hello,
Is
Miss.
it a cat?
Yes, it is a cat. Look, it is a cat.
Oh, well
It's a flashing cat.
that's a very beautiful creature indeed.
It is. I think like Dr. No or whatever it is in James Bond. Mm.
Well, I mean, isn't she is beautiful, really, that creature.
She
No,
is. Thank
but
you for coming to see me. But
so
ah,
should we continue, Sylvain? You were saying,
well,
or
yes.
is that
Uh,
is that a bit of a
okay.
messy start?
Okay, no, yes, we're talking about appearances. I mean, how do we appear to people who are watching it, basically? Because we are concerned about, oh, is that picture of me accurate? Are the colors okay? Or I could look a bit better
Mm.
if. So I think that we've got to accept that appearances are very important to us as well. We are trying to say something, or at least to be seen as something
Yeah.
by other people. So our life in society is very much dependent on what or we believe that anyway, that what other people think of us.
Yeah, and
And
it's really
and
important so
it is.
that it can that's how it feels anyway, because that means that, and they've done studies into this, you get certain promotions if you're particular ages, and that's based on appearance, how you're perceived. And so it can become a sort of fear-based thing. People feel, oh, I'm losing my value because I'm looking a certain way, I'm a certain gender, I'm a certain size or shape. And I wonder what I'd love to explore is how much of this is actually accurate and how much of this is just what we've been told by society. Because is it really a lot just in our heads? You're saying we want to be seen in a particular way. We want people to see us. We want to be seen as who we are. And we think, well, if I make myself look really beautiful and if I present myself in a particular way, then people are going to see me as beautiful. They're going to like me. They're going to give me lots of promotions and I'm going to get nice treats and blah, 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 blah. There's a sort of sense of reward that you feel can come with being seen as being beautiful. But if you're quote unquote ugly in some ways, then does that mean that you're somehow going to lose out? And what do we, I mean, is this even true? Is this accurate, or is this something that we've been told and believed? And because we've been told and believed it, we almost create a society that is based on these beliefs about each other and these judgments. And I'd love to talk more about this from a female perspective and a woman in her mid-30s sort of going through those things that women go through, which is the biological clock and changes and things like that. And I think it's a fascinating topic to explore actually appearance and the value that society seems to place on what we look like. Why is that so important? And why do we create such a big thing out of it? And are we right to do that? I think it's a very, very interesting topic, and I am looking forward to discussing it. I think there's so much we can say about this.
Indeed, and I think that actually, to the extent as well that when we talk about appearances, and people say, "Well, I shouldn't be judged by what I look like," and so it means people are worried that they will be, and then if you are judged badly on what you look like, it means that you won't get whatever it is you're seeking from cooperation with other people. So it's a very important aspect, and it's also the sort of the opposite. Some people say, well, what I look like really shouldn't come into play because this is actually, I am who I am, I am the way I look, and therefore I couldn't care less. I'll be just me. And sometimes people mean being just me and I've got to be accepted as I am, but actually becoming neglected, sort of not making any effort to look anything or to prepare yourself or whatever. And I think that is actually the other side of the coin, which is unfortunately not true either. Because to be looking at your best is a natural thing at the end of the day. You don't plan. to be you. But I'm sure where everybody have experienced that. When you get up in the morning, you have a feel, you are awake, you're looking forward to the day, you're excited about the day. Gosh, I mean, go and see yourself in the mirror. Your looks are very different than they were when you didn't want to get up because you thought the day would be difficult and the weather was bad and I didn't want to go to work. I mean, it's incredible how to use ourselves we can appear and then look after ourselves as see if we were somebody else.
Well, that's it. I mean, there are studies they've done which suggest that we are 20% more attractive than we think we are, as in other people perceive us as more attractive than we perceive ourselves. I don't know if this is just a female thing, because there's such a sort of harsh criticism sometimes because appearance seems so important. It's the thing that we seem to have control over. And and this is the other thing, there's always something, there's always seems to be something you can do to improve, even when you're incredibly young. You want to grow boobs and then you get to a point and you say, oh, I want to shrink them now, and then you say, I want straight hair, I want curly hair, I want Botox, I want smoother skin. There's all these things, at every different stage of your life. I'm too tall, I'm too short, I'm too fat, I'm too thin. There can constantly be things that you can do to improve because there is no perfect way to look. So there is always some state that people seem to be seeking, which is that perfect state of being. And I think it just doesn't exist, but we can spend so long chasing it. And what exactly is the reward that we're trying to chase with that? What is it that we're trying to get? And we were talking about sex as well earlier. Is that really all this is? Is it that people are looking for a physical connection, and to have that, there needs to be a sort of sex appeal and attractiveness, a way of drawing in the men or the women, come to me because look at my lips and look at my lovely scarf, and I don't know, whatever it is that's attractive. And how does that even work? Because that's again so subjective. So I think this sort of illusory, nebulous something that we're all seeking. What even is that? What is it that we're actually trying to get by polishing our appearance and trying to find this perfect way of being? What is it that we're all looking for?
Well, I mean, I don't know for everybody, but I've got a sense that actually we are seeking acceptance and security. That in fact, that actually when we have made a contact, that contact will be solid. That we are once we've actually established that we are secure. Because what else do human beings? It's the first requirement we have is security. As soon as we are insecure, we wobble. We are not able to perform at our best. So I wonder if that's initially it is more than sex, more than sort of a reward, is that acceptance from others that we are now part of something which is solid. So
Yeah.
we don't have to worry too much about what we appear to be like because we can be ourselves.
So do you think it's really partnership that people are seeking? They're seeking some sense of security through being accepted by another person, and that creates a sense of there's a protection that can come with that. Somebody saying to you, actually, you're okay, I like you, I want you to be well and to look after yourself. And there's a sort of companionship and a mutual protection that comes with maybe having a partner,
I
and
think that
even better, a family.
I think that that's absolutely right. But there again, we always have to look on various possibilities. I think that probably is the main case. But you also have people who want to be accepted and feel they are secure because they intend to use that to manipulate other people. So this is the opposite way. You want to be accepted, and in a way that shows that you are clever and you've infiltrated a particular world where you can then rule from. There's also that part, which is same sort of thing. You want acceptance and security in being accepted, but then it's what your goals are within that secure relationship.
So there's a greed seeking sometimes. You
I
want
think
to
it can be
be
that.
in charge as a seeking for control. What do
Yeah,
you mean?
control is one of them. But then again, if you go back, you could look at control. Why would anybody want to control? Well, for security purposes. because then you know you're in charge and you can get what you need and what you want when you want and when you need. So this is the same sort of thing, but in a more well, difficult way, I suppose, for other people. It's not very nice to be controlled or to be manipulated, and therefore, people who actually seek to do that, well, we would say it's not appropriate, it's not right, but it is the goal overall. It probably is the same.
Mm. And a lot of people can do that with their appearance. Lots of young, pretty women can seduce men into falling in love with them and doing anything they want. There's a sort of power that can come with using one's attractiveness. There's a draw into certain things, and then that does seem to create a sense of control or power that might then be exploitative. It's a form of abuse to
Well,
do that.
it is, I think, and we see that more and more, aren't we? I mean, it is pretty visible in society today through all the social media in particular, but also in other places. Look at the programs on television. The subject sex is actually pervasive. It's everywhere, and I mean physical sex, not just men and women, but you do have that sort of nakedness of body forms. How you project that seems to be of great interest because apparently it's a form of power that females can actually exercise over males, and it does work. You've got to accept that. However, I think that actually, if one is sort of reasonable altogether, you've got to accept that actually life is an ongoing movement. That actually, whatever you present today of yourself is you're not going to present that next year or the year after because we've got a process called aging, and therefore looks, whether we like it or not, we can't fake being young forever. We have to accept that life takes us where it does. And I think that's if one wants to look into that, how you get security within the way life works, that's a different matter altogether. It's not as simple as one like it to be. It's not just physical attraction. And furthermore, I mean, it's not just security in life. You want to have a life you feel fulfilled by. No, so I think that it's very difficult to just be fulfilled by the looks. You've got to actually feel fulfilled by what you sense into you, how well comfortable you are with life. And if you've got to pretend all your life and even when you are not able to anymore, this is really hard work.
Well, I think if there's a connection with something that's deeper than the appearance, for example, because you're right, the appearance is transitory. It always is. The form is constantly changing and evolving. And if we try and cling on to that, and you're right, people do try and cling on to their youth. I mean, I'm constantly getting these adverts on Facebook for Botox and collagen supplements and all of this stuff that's apparently supposed to make you look 20 years old again. And it's such a popular market because everybody wants to look young. They're wanting to stop this inevitable process of aging and time and progress because there's something that they're very attached to, which is a certain appearance, it's a certain form. And then I think if you are connected with something that's deeper and more permanent and less transitory, then it's not like you're going to be delighted that things are changing necessarily. You might say, well, I would prefer not to have the wrinkles, I prefer not to have the grey hair, I liked it better when it was brown or whatever. You can still have that preference, but there's not so much of that attachment to it. There's not so much of that holding on. You can almost watch it fade, sort of leaves on a stream kind of thing, and say, well, that was a phase of my life, and now there's another phase of my life, and I'm okay with that. It's something that there can be a sense of peace or acceptance towards rather than a resistance. And it seems to be the resistance that's creating that hysteria and that marketing, which I wonder if is then creating the resistance in other people because they're saying, oh, well, all these celebrities are having facelifts and Botox, so does that not mean that I ought to be as well? It's a sort of self-fulfilling prophecy. Society is presenting this is something bad. It's a bit like death. If everyone is afraid of it, you think, well, there must be something to be afraid of then. And it just keeps driving this way of way of apparently being, which is to focus on youth as something positive. And why is it that we do that? What is so bad about changing form? What is so bad about aging? Why, like the oak trees are thousands of years old. Are they somehow less worthwhile than the new ones? What is this sort of focus on youth, do you think? And why is everyone trying to look young?
Well, I mean, this is really such an important aspect because we can hear, if we actually listen to what you just said, that actually it's almost like there is a plan for life. There's a blueprint that is given to everybody and that everybody should follow. Because in that observation, I mean, it's everything is becomes predictable because there is a particular format which you've got to look like so in order to be able to participate in a normal way in society. You've got to actually get a job, you've got to get a partner, you've got to get family, you've got to have so much money to buy house. It's all in a book. You can actually follow, how it works and implement it. Now, I always, because that's where I'm made, when I look at that, I always think, are we not missing something behind all this, which is called real life? I call it real life compared to an organized life, which actually, as soon as you're born, it's not your choice. You're not discovering something you've never seen before, and then you've got to adjust and discover and adapt and go along and find more and then go on that way. You are given your blueprint and you are got to follow that. Now, if we are not following the blueprint, and then we are a real human being, and I mean by that because it seems people don't think they're real. It's like we are all in a film, but we're not in a film. We're on a real planet in the middle of the universe with a real life around. So when you look at it that way, if you live in real life, you are going to evolve all the time because there's nobody there to tell you what to do. There's just you exposed to the elements, and then as you go along, you adjust and you learn and you adapt and you learn. Now you're talking about totally different type of beauty, because what about sorry, I almost
That's
disappeared.
why do you keep going down in your
I've
seat?
no
What's
idea.
happening? You're not on a
It's a
revolving chair,
it's a
are you?
mystery from the computer. Yes, I mean uh, um, what we discover is what people call maturity. So that the more you learn about life, and the more you actually are exposed to, good and difficult things in life, and then you adjust and discover you can deal with those, you acquire some sort of sense of security, which doesn't come from acceptance of other people, but from acceptance from life itself. You trust life far more than you did, so you can go along with that, and you feel the maturity. I really don't know what that's doing now. uh, um, why, and I see that very often, that actually, in particular for women who've been relying on their looks in order to get a partner and to get a protection when they've got family and that sort of thing, actually tend to actually, at particular age, sort of give up a little bit or try very hard, where they don't realize how attractive maturity can be. So, your peace of mind, your ability to cope with life, I mean, and to be calm and composed, and this is so important, and that far more valuable than the looks alone. And of course, if you do have that capacity to be more accepting, more secure in your life, your looks adjust to that. You got a far more relaxed face, and that in itself is very attractive. So
Yeah, yeah,
this is following the real life. You will go along with that ongoing transformation that is a life is. And instead of trying to be stuck in one particular format, when you've got to paint yourself in a way to be what you're supposed to be according to the blueprint,
yeah, yeah,
and try to
yeah.
remain young forever, which is the most disastrous.
Absolutely.
attempt, really.
Well, I think it's very attractive when people are just who they are. And it doesn't matter at what age you are. If you're expressing something of yourself, whether it's a pair of earrings or a scarf or a lip color or something, or just the way you carry yourself, the way your body language, there are so many ways that we can express ourselves which speak to who we are, and that is the real attractiveness. What is it that we're really seeking with people, with something deeper than the appearance. I mean, that's what seems to draw people in, but what they're really attracted to, I mean, unless they're incredibly shallow and just want sex, and that's literally it. And there are people like that. They're not necessarily the ones that you would want to be in a relationship with, though, because what it seems that we really get value and appreciation and connection from is that deeper level of coming together, which is accessible when somebody knows themselves and can present and put themselves across, and then the other person can recognize that person in the way that they're presenting themselves. And that's what beauty is to me. It's the formless put across in a physical form, and that looks different to every individual person. Everybody has an idea of what's attractive, and there are some things that are attractive to many, many people, and a lot of people would agree, yes, that's attractive, and that seems to be a biological thing. There's an urge to procreate, so therefore that might be the youth advantage. More fertile, for example, that's seen as more attractive. So there is a biological component to it, of course. But I think it's true, what you're saying, which is that that connection is not limited to a particular time or a particular form. That ability to be with another person, people are looking for sex, but what exactly is it that they're really even looking for with that? It's that sense of just being connected on a very real, intimate level. And yeah, we look at sort of the reality of things, and we look at the formless connection between people. And it's interesting that we can sort of seem to have both. Um, it's really love. It's that coming together. It's that peace. That's that security. Maybe that's what it is that we're looking for, and we can have that without having the physical side of it. Absolutely. And that's not me trying to say anything to kind of, I don't know. It's not any sort of compensation for anything else. It's I feel it's really quite true. And it doesn't seem very exciting though. I think that's what it is. There seems to be this sort of desire to have excitement, that comes from the glamour and the sparkle and everything else. That's sort of the human experience, the fact that we are in a form, we've got the physical body, we want to express and put that out. And that's not to say we can't, but I think it can be all too easy to be caught in that and to assume this is who we are. We are the body, we are the form. So I think these conversations are interesting because they examine both at the same time. Who actually are we? I think we keep coming back to the same point. Who are we? And when we know that, then everything is sort of falls into place. It feels a lot more easy and free to live. There's less anxiety, less seeking, and yeah, I think that's a really interesting. That's really interesting. Who are we? Are we our appearance? Why is it so important? Why do we care that much what we look like? Is it who we are?
Well, it seems as well. I mean, if you look at the way society functions, there is a great promotion of sex as a physical activity, a pleasurable activity. And I think that in itself, when society is promoting something like that, it makes me a bit suspicious because why are we putting so much importance into sex? And why are we putting so much importance into staying young? Are we really being selling something to hide the fact that actually the rest of life is not that attractive, and that somehow we can escape our daily unhappiness in a way by seeking sort of thrills of that sort. And I'm very suspicious of that because I think it can't be that something. I mean, I'm not denying sex is fun. It's great. Why not? And it's got a function, which is main function is procreation, of course. So it's life is well established to make sure that we do procreate. I mean, it happens with the same with animals or with trees or whatever. Everything alive on the planet is about procreation. It's not special to us. What may be special to human beings that actually we make a big thing out of it, and therefore there's not only the physical side but all the mental satisfaction as well, and the refinement we can bring into it. But let's not forget that actually, as I say, that might be hiding something which actually is denied from us, which is to find proper contentment and happiness just being alive. And that everything seems to be sold to us. What about being a human being for a change? And in that sense, how things do change because if you actually have sex as the main objective or of a relationship, so that's what make people really gel together and be acceptable. I mean, isn't that a terrible indictment of who we are? Because I mean, if you meet somebody when you're in your 60s or something like that, and you've got that prejudice about age and looks, I mean, are we not missing completely the person behind the looks? And by that I mean somebody who understands life, who is capable of creating peace around, to explain, to support in a most positive way, other people. I mean, that's at the end of the day, that's what life is. I mean, it's not easy for anybody to live, and you really want to be able to share, the real life, not pretending it doesn't exist, and then you're always looking hunky-dory from the outside and being terribly disturbed inside. Our destination in life is to find contentment so that when we carry on and grow, we feel more and more comfortable with life, not the opposite. And we meet a lot of people who are exactly the opposite. They're such tormented inside and so good at pretending they're not. And I think that's the issue I have with, being so one-sided about the looks.
So what can we do about it? I mean, how can people age in a way that does feel like they're happy about it, like it's something that is bringing peace, they're feeling peaceful, they're feeling connected, they're not seeking something that was perhaps there in the past or something that they want to have that they don't have. How can people be okay with just the way they are then?
Well, I'm very sorry that this is too simple and it's very difficult for people to understand. It's even more difficult to explain. In fact, it's the way you deal with that is simply by accepting that life is for real. It's not something invented by somebody. It's not something made by men. It's something we can't explain. And we've got to accept to be in that uncertainty and belong to it, because when we are, then we've got a fantastic adventure to live and to discover more and more where we are, who we are, how we actually mix all that together. And that is what gives people the sort of strength and the understanding and the enjoyment of being alive. And to discover that actually we're not aging at all, we are growing. And then we are not having our looks getting better. We actually are sharing and the understanding of life getting better. And that's far more beautiful than just the looks. So it is really going along with the way life is. If life is actually, we go through a process, we're born and we're young and then, we get older. This is actually something we've got to enjoy and understand all the way. Just be with it, not resist it. Because any resistance against what life is going to make us terribly unhappy. And honestly, who wants to be unhappy? So, it's try to see another way. All our society almost is based on trying to remove unhappiness by offering us to buy things to compensate and to keep us going, the way we used to be. And so we are in a very difficult situation. It's so much temptation to believe, the snake oil is available and it's going to save our, will make us live forever, looking at 20 years old. And that's, the thing is, look at real life, and it's so difficult because we can't accept in a way that actually there is something we call life, which we can't control and we don't understand and we have no idea where it comes from.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think you hit the nail on the head by saying that people are seeking this immortality. They're seeking to stay in this place of vitality because there's some sort of fear that death is the end. That when people get to old age, it means they're then going to die, and that that's the end of everything, and curtains, lights out. And I wonder if that is what drives so much of this addiction or attachment to being youthful, is this sense of aliveness. And as you get older, you become less alive in some ways. And then you think, oh, I'm going down the pan, I'm not worth anything anymore because life is so valuable and so precious. And if I am coming to the end of my life, that means that I don't have that value anymore. And when we're attached to a sense of who we are, we're caught in our own identity, our own personal sense of separation. That can very much feel like a fact. When we come to the end of our lives, that's it, that's the end. And so I think these sorts of conversations where we say, well, it's not that it all ends, it's that there's a growth, there's a progress. I think that can sort of loosen the attachment or the identification with the individual sense of separation or identity, which can open one up to feeling more connected and not fearing the aging process, not fearing getting old. So much of that wanting to look young is that wanting to stay alive, wanting to stay. And when you see that you're aging, you say, oh my God, this isn't real. This isn't going to happen to me. I am going to get old and I am going to die. People don't really like being confronted with that. And they don't like to show that to other people because they want other people perhaps to see them as eternally youthful, or that might be seen as attractive, being alive, which it of course is. But it's not that we need to be attached to it. It's not that it's the only form of beauty. There's a beauty in death as well, you could say. And I know we've done our death series as well, so I won't go into that anymore. But yes, I think I'm not sure if you agree, but I do think a lot of this is the fear of death, this kind of over focus on the youth culture and our looks and our appearance and looking like we're going to go on forever when everyone knows that we're not. I do wonder how much of that's got to do with the fear of dying.
Well, I think you've got it right. I mean, and I wouldn't call it death necessarily. I think that actually what keeps us going is the future. It's the tomorrow. Now, it's the absence of tomorrow which makes people really change completely. In order to live and be fully alive, you need to have a future, something to look forward to. So somewhere you're going to. And then because of that thing that people call death, there is no, it means that you have no future anymore. So that's what people are really worried about. And they've only got a particular amount of time to be happy. So it's why your happiest time apparently was when you were young and you were attractive and you had all those friendship with people or whatever. And this is something people want to carry on. They don't realize that actually there is a future. There's always tomorrow because we've no idea, what's going on after death. And if you follow life the way it is and you enjoy the journey, that actually, even when something seems to be difficult or whatever, a challenge of sort, physical or mental, and you find that you can overcome that. Yeah, there's actually, an ongoing story. There isn't a story with an end. We don't know the end. We've declared ourselves that death was the end. We've no idea either. And until the last moment of when you're still alive, you're always alive. You can't be dead and alive. You can be either one or the other. So you don't have to worry. your life will never end because when you're dead, you won't know that your life, if if that is the case, I don't know what's after death. I just know, and I can say that because I'm pretty old myself, that actually I feel I've got a great future in front of me. I mean, I'm not limited by this idea that actually I'm going to die. Whatever death is, it's an ongoing thing. I was young one day, I was born, I grew up, and then get on with it, and then life opens up, and then more opportunities to open, and then it goes on. And that's all I know, and I'm not trying to pretend that I've discovered, whatever created life, but I don't mind. I've got that great confidence that actually I'll go with the flow, and whatever the flow takes me, it's great.
I think it's so interesting that when we're younger, there's this sort of expectation that actually, I wonder if it's that that brings the happiness. There's this idea that we're going somewhere. You know, when you're little, there's all that excitement about growing up, about having all these things that you don't have at the moment, but at some point you're going to have in the future. And I wonder if you get to a certain point and you sort of start to realize, oh, I was sold this idea of adulthood that hasn't quite materialized yet. And you get to sort of middle-aged and you start to think, well, where is it? It still hasn't seemed to have arrived yet. And it can sort of feel a bit like, oh, that maybe that was what brought so much of that enjoyment was the anticipation, was that, as you said, the sort of future seeking, the idea of there being something in the future. And so when the future actually comes and you see that there's nothing there, I wonder if maybe that's what creates some of the I'm not sure exactly. It seems to create a fear or a well, where is it? When is it going to come? And you realize, well, it's already been here. It's here in the excitement of something. We're constantly anticipating something better in the future, and that is the excitement, and that is what we're looking for.
Oh, yes, I mean, and if you follow the history of humanity, you will also realize how much we have destroyed the idea of the future, or what happened tomorrow. Because if you look now, there used to be explorers, people who actually discovered new continents, new lives, but all that's been explored already. So, I mean, I feel very sad when sometimes I talk with young students who've been to university. I mean, I always ask the question when I meet somebody at university, what are you getting ready for? You know, when you come out to university, what sort of are you studying in a way, and why? And most of them say, I have no idea, and so, well, what are you going to do when you come out to university? They say, oh, I don't know, I'll look for a job or something like that. Then you meet those people out of university, they can't find jobs. I mean, that is terrible to think that actually young people who've been studying don't have a plan. They don't have a life in front of them where they're going to really enjoy discovering, for themselves in their speciality, what they've chosen to do, to actually you be a good participant in life. That doesn't exist anymore. I mean, you start being disappointed now when you are, 17, 18, 20, and you say, well, I thought that I was going to get a big job because I've done everything I was supposed to do, and then there's no jobs for me. And oh well, I'll go on a sabbatical, I'll go away for a travel, whatever. And when I come back, I'll think again. I mean, this is very sad to me, to realize that actually all the world has been put into a box where there is no hope. So I'm sure that a lot of young people already feel like death, to be honest, because they think their life is finished. They've been promised things which doesn't exist, and what else can they dream about? So, and all that is very much exploited. I mean, why not becoming, a star? Look at those people who sing, or whether how much money they can get. Look at those people who play football. I mean, there's only 11 guys a bit more in the national team of football. Not the whole world can be doing that. So people live a dream in their heads that maybe one day, but how many people qualify? I think it's a very sad situation. So there is a need for a place or an understanding of what life is to actually which is not affected by what we're told, which is not affected by the situation we find ourselves in, which is something personal where we have somewhere to go. We have a destination, and then we can actually make our own way towards that. It doesn't depend on other people. It doesn't depend on what society says. It's our perception of being alive.
And that's the present moment.
It is the present moment, yes, and it is the fact that we take being alive seriously because we have realized it's not something our own making. We are not in control of that at all. We can only be part of it. And to be part of it is that's proper love, is being interested and discovering what it's all about.
Conversations always seem to end up at the same place, Sylvan, I've noticed.
It's me, it's me.
I think it's both of us. We always end up at the same point together.
Yeah.
But it's good, it's interesting. It's interesting. We sort of go on an exploration and we end up sort of back at the start again.
Yes, maybe it's because that's the best art.
Well, it's a nice journey. I
It,
think again, it's that idea that there can be where are we going with all this? What's the ultimate destination? What's the goal? And maybe the destination is the exploration. Maybe we can enjoy exploring, enjoy just noticing all these things that we do, and that in itself is maybe that's what we get. That's the
it's
enjoyment.
pretty exciting, isn't it?
It is
You know,
exciting, yes.
look around, look at the animals, look at the floor, look at the climate, look at the clouds, look at anything, the planet, the universe. It's so incredible and so exciting, and we know so little about it. And and look at us. I mean, aren't we sort of marvelous creations? We've got so many incredible attributes apart from sex, which we can make so much of and discover so much about. Oh, wow. I mean, tomorrow never comes. There'll be always something new, something you can add, something to discover. And I love surprises. I don't want to know about tomorrow. It's quite nice when it comes.
So we'll TBC when we do our next video then. We'll see what happens.
Okay.
Oh, it's been fun to chat. Thanks, Sylvan. I'll stop the recording.
Okay, bye-bye.
Okay, bye.